Welcome to my darkroom. Today we're going to do some shooting, and I thought what I would do is just have a little quick overview of the darkroom and basically whack the lights on. So like most dark rooms, a bit grotty, a few chairs, a few tables, couple of good enlargers though. Alright, so here we have the Durst D659, had this enlarger for many years. And also we actually have the Laboratory 138S, and it is one beautiful piece of kit for enlarging. Okay, for my analyzer, I use the Analyzer Pro, and bought this quite some years ago, and to be quite honest, had no clue how to work it properly. I tried it, and a very good friend actually showed me how to set up the profiles in here, which I've had for now quite some time, and I'm getting really good results. The analyzer runs off the Ilford multigrade 500 system, and there it is there. About the biggest key is I did find that this lovely little red light here actually used to give us some little bleed marks on the paper, so an old 5x4 sheet box covered over the top. Okay, we've got a fridge with all the normal stuff that would go for enlarging, and so I've got all the paper that I want to keep, a few of the chemicals, and even drinks if you want to keep it. Okay, this is my contact print frame, and came quite unexpectedly and had no intention whatsoever to do contact printing. And then along came an 8x10 camera, and so for the last year or two I've been actually working on those. And in actual fact, my last year at the camera club, I ended up prior to that actually taking out the black and white film section using X-ray film, which the judges didn't even know. Alright, here's my trays, developer, water, 1+9. I've just got in here 100ml of chemical, 900ml of water, and that'll be enough. And I've got to the point now where it's very infrequent that I get in the dark room due to work pressure and everything else in my life. So once I finish these chemicals, I just dump them. Water, stop, fixer. Okay, here's a little water bath in here. Also a syringe which I use to get the chemicals out of my container in an accurate fashion, and then basically wash it out. Okay, got a really fantastic washing tray here. Today I won't be using it. I'll just be using this little tray here, which works quite well. And so now we'll actually have a look at the negative we're going to use and go from there. Okay, out in the light box you can see my lovely clean dark room, and then we go out into the workroom, which is even worse. Okay, this is a neg I took at Panola. Got given about 15 minutes 20 minutes to actually take a shot in large format. That's really cutting it tight. And it's the Mary McKillop's center, and so we've got one neg here. We're going to do this one first, and the other neg I have is actually in the classroom. And so what I did with this one is focus mainly on the board just through here, and you can actually see the open door. Lots of light actually coming in behind the camera was the actual light source, because it was late afternoon when I took the shot. The actual X-ray film is a mammogram film, R-Mins, and I managed to get a couple of boxes of this, and I'll be very sad when this stuff disappears, or I'll probably have to get some from America and try again to get another source, because one of the biggest problems with X-ray film is, in Australia especially, is availability. It's a real pain. Alright, so here we have it. Here's my negative. I'm going to actually sit it on here. I'm hoping the camera will pick this up really nicely. So the first thing I need to do is basically come up with some paper, and so I've got a quite a decent store through here. And then underneath, on top, I've got fibre paper, and for doing my proofing I've actually got some resin, all foamer paper, fantastic paper. I've really gotten to love this stuff. Basically overset my negative over the top like that, and I'm hoping that this lovely little light that is actually flashing on the GoPro is not going to mess up the paper too much, but if it does, back to the drawing board. Okay, so basically looking at this, I know that where the light's going to go, so I've just set this up. I've got a card here which I'm going to actually move across in increments so that we actually get a reasonable amount of exposure. The other thing that I will do is now actually drop down the amount of time, and I've set it up at around about 2.6, and then off we go. Now basically, because I can easily reach the control panel on the analyzer, I just set this one up here and just go hit, and you can hear it actually winding up. Alright, we've done 1, 2. This is a really even neg. I was really quite pleased, and a friend actually took a copy of it and turned it into a positive on GIMP, and the resulting print is quite outstanding for X-ray film. So I was quite happy about that. Doesn't always happen that way. And right, and now we've just got one more. Okay, so that means right up on the corner we're just going to get one exposure of 2.6. Rightio. Okay, so now take it to sheet. Now generally what I do is I just sit my screen across like that and move this. I then lift the negative and just sit it on top of there and drop this into the paper. Now because it's resin, okay, I just give this 1 minute, and it's, you may see this, you may not, but here we go with our timer. And I don't have to worry about glassing in the bottom of the trays. When I actually develop negs, I use exactly the same procedure as what you can see here, and I can see the usually after about 15 seconds, if I don't see anything happening, I know I've got myself some trouble. So I can actually see the print starting to come up in the actual developer, and you know, we're up to this stage about 30 seconds, half the development time on the paper, and it's not too bad. I can see it starting to, the shadow areas are starting to show. I can actually see inside the fireplace. One of the key things when I set up the exposure for this negative was that I wanted to actually get the painting above the fire, the mantelpiece. The other factor was my focusing point was the teapot on the table. I did make a mistake. I would have liked to have actually cut out the portion of the table down the bottom, but didn't do that, and so that basically has caused me a little bit of grief. Okay, so we've got around about, right, yeah, we can take this out, just drop this out. Now generally I just give it a little quick water bath, okay, only 10-15 seconds. Alright, and if this neg was really low in light values, often I actually drop the neg into the water bath for a minute or two, and it's surprising where I get the shadow detail just stays as it is, and the highlights actually pick up more detail, which is really pleasing, and it means that you've got really good coverage. Now I'm not timing how long in the stop, you know, 30-40 seconds. I know it says you can do it for 10, but I'm a bit slack. Okay, I don't like mucking around in the chemicals too much, but after a lifetime of being a chippy and muck around with glues and thinners and goodness knows what else, that's a problem. Okay, I've got an old Smith's timer here, and generally have to actually always fight that, and off we go. So now we just actually work out. Now generally if it's a final print, I won't put the light on at all, but quite frankly, more often than not, to get to gauge just how the neg's going, and also then the print is, I'll actually have the lights on, and basically once it's gone past its stop, it's not going to make any difference to development or anything like that. I haven't had any indication of that at all. Most of my prints I put up on large format forums in America, and also the Australian forums. They are all scans off of prints. I find it very difficult to define when I see a neg that's just absolutely unbelievable shadow detail and highlight, and you have a look at it and then someone goes, oh well, I've just scanned this, and basically this is how I would have printed it in the darkroom. Well, that's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, especially for the people who work in the darkroom, and you think to yourself, well, goodness gracious. Alright, let's have a look at our neg. Alright, it's already in there. It's quite amazing actually. I've really got good detail. If we pull it out of the water for a bit, just have a look, and we actually look at it in the light. I like looking at it into my main light, and do you know what? I reckon, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's burnt out. Really, you can see the detail that's just not there. There's no detail there. Here you can see the teapot starting to actually resemble its color, and the key sharp area is here. Okay, the rest of this is fairly soft. The amount of light I had in this room to actually get this sharp all the way through, I had to be in there for about 15 minutes with the profile I've got, which I didn't have at the time. Alright, so let's look at 4 again. 1, 2, 3, yep, 4. Alright, I'm just going to leave this sit there. This is my tests on previous negs, you can actually see, and some of them are super dark, super light, and how I actually get the different. And I'll leave this sitting here, wash it away for a few minutes. And here we have one of my dark slides, which the bag that I was carrying broke, and I ended up breaking one part off the dark slide. So now I'm up for a glue along there and actually hold this together, which is a bit of a bugbear. Those things aren't cheap, and I don't like to end up costing that much for me. So if we actually look at this and said, right, we've got 4 steps, we've got let's go back to 2.6 times 4, that's 8, and then 684, there's a 12.6 or so. So let's have a look. Yeah, 11.1. Okay, I like the contrast as it is. Go and try 11. Alright, a little bit concerned about the fact of how long we do that. Stop my timer, clear it. Okay. let's grab another sheet of paper, and we're going to try just one print. I'm not actually looking at actually just getting fine art there. Okay, and so far it didn't appear to me that it was actually affecting the exposure at all. So if I actually look like that, and then turn over here, when we can see the amount of light that goes on one of these, I can understand that, and bang. Beautiful. Alright, so there's our exposure. And now I'm going to try again. Alright, shift off our sheet of glass. Alright, we know how this goes. Straight into there, couple of rolls, press the timer, and off we go again. Alright, we've got the main light on here. Okay. By 15 seconds we should actually be looking at some detail coming through, and yes it is. I always love the fact that you can actually watch a print come up in the chemicals. There's just nothing like it. It's well over 20 years that I've been mucking around doing this. Made every mistake possible, but I love the fact that when this chemical comes up and you just see the image start to show, and I can see the outsides of the frames, especially for a large format. It's by the time 1 minute's gone, I'm really expecting to see some blackness around that outside. And so this particular paper has a recommendation of 1 to 3 minutes, and looking at it, I'm thinking that I'm now done actually 1 minute and 20 seconds. So there's nothing wrong with actually getting full development. Snatching paper out well before time and stuff like that because you've actually guesstimated wrong causes a problem. Now I reckon I've got some really dark stuff here, so pull them out, get rid of the chemicals, straight into here again. Just this is where if I was trying to get more detail in that cloth, which you can see under the developer, I would actually leave this in here for quite a time, but we'll just see. It's a test. Okay, this is not a final print. Okay, on we go there. Gee, it's not looking too bad actually. Alright, stop. So we've got no more development happening. Okay, now we can actually drop this into, bring that through. Alright, in it goes to there. I think I've actually fogged the walls a bit, we'll see. Looks alright. Pretty old joint, 100-year-old. Reproduced, really pretty. Okay. Alright. And so this is always the time factor. You're in here, 1 minute. Don't mind if it's a little bit more. Now what I'm going to do is actually put the light on. Okay, you can see the actual print. You can see the kettle looking really nice. Look at the floor, looks lovely. Okay, easy to see that the very back section was in quite a bit of darkness. Okay, the reason we've got light down here is because we're just adjacent to the door, so that was the only light I was getting. Alright, so here's my test print. Alright, and I can just just plonk it onto there. Not too fussed about it, but I can actually see where it is. I've strayed away from the, but I can actually see the shadow in the corner there. Let's have a look. Yeah, ticking away. Okay, alright, so we've done well over a minute. Looking at that, not perfect, but it's not too bad. Alright. If I was doing a full-on darkroom session, we'd be actually having this out here, and I'd actually have this tub filled out, and we could actually work our way through there. Alright, just while this is going, alright, we've got this little orange beast here. This is actually a Rapido print machine that I paid a fair amount of money for. Prints 20-inch wide paper, and I've done some really nice 24 by 20 prints using this enlarger with the baseboard right down, and the hardest job is focusing it, and then you can actually see when you look inside, you know, it's got all the rollers, all the trays, and it takes about 1.5 litres of chemical, but once it's actually working, great for winter. Okay, you've got a heater on the side here, comes through. About its biggest bugbear is it can actually snag paper up if you don't get it properly, which is always a bit of a pain, but there you go. Alright, so resin paper, 1 or 2 minutes. Alright, my favourite toy, all the way from IKEA, the old window or glass squeegee. I just go straight down there like that, and I do this for my resin prints as well, incidentally. I'm a little bit more careful with them because I have actually ripped the surface off before. You can see it there, and that's all the mount taken off. Okay, so there's a print. Okay, this is really nice here. I'd like that to be darker, but it is what it is. Okay, it was pitch dark in the room, so I've managed to actually get nice little shade. The teapot's lovely, tablecloth has got shadow detail, and the chairs don't look too bad. The rest, yeah, it is soft, but that's where it is. Okay, so now what I can do with this, got one of these clothes hangers that the ladies use, and just set it up like that. Even my resin and my fibre prints, I do exactly the same, and what it does, it keeps it taut and it will buckle and bow, and then what I do is actually put it underneath once the prints have dried overnight, actually then just flatten them, and out of that I haven't had too much trouble. Hope you enjoyed that.